the illusion of time. Time is a social construct, a concept that we have created to make sense of our lives. In reality, there is no such thing as time in the natural world. Time is a measurement, a way for us to quantify the movement of the earth and the cycles of nature. But what does this mean for forgiveness? How does our perception of time affect our ability to forgive? To understand this, we must first recognize that when we hold on to anger and resentment, we are essentially holding on to the past. We are reliving past hurts and grievances, replaying them in our minds over and over again. But the past is gone. It no longer exists except in our memories. By clinging to these memories, we are creating suffering for ourselves in the present. We are allowing the past to dictate our present experience, to color our perception of the world, our perception of the world around us. Forgiveness, then, is a way to break free from this cycle of suffering. It is a way to let go of the past and embrace the present moment. When we forgive, we are not erasing the past or pretending that hurtful events did not occur. We are simply releasing the hold that the past has on us. Think of forgiveness as a form of liberation, a way to free ourselves from the burden of carrying anger and resentment. When we forgive, we are not only freeing the other person from guilt or blame, but we are also freeing ourselves from the weight of those negative emotions. But why is forgiveness so difficult? Why do we find it so hard to let go of past hurts? Part of the reason lies in our attachment to the past. We become attached to our pain, to our suffering, as if it defines who we are. We hold on to these negative emotions because we believe that they make us stronger, more resilient. But in reality, holding on to anger and resentment only serves to weaken us. It drains us of our energy, our vitality, and our joy. It prevents us from fully experiencing the present moment, from fully engaging with life. So how can we begin to let go of these negative emotions? How can we start the process of forgiveness? One way is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, of observing our thoughts and emotions without judgment. When we practice mindfulness, we become aware of the thoughts and emotions that arise within us. We can observe them, acknowledge them, and then let them go. We can see that our thoughts and emotions are transient, that they come and go like clouds in the sky. Another way to cultivate forgiveness is through compassion. Compassion is the ability to empathize with others, to see their suffering, and to wish them well. When we approach forgiveness with compassion, we are able to see the humanity in others, to recognize that they too are fallible beings, capable of making mistakes. But perhaps most importantly, compassion allows us to extend that same kindness and understanding to ourselves. We are often our harshest critics, holding ourselves to impossible standards. But through compassion, we can learn to forgive ourselves for our own shortcomings and mistakes. The nature of forgiveness. What does it mean to forgive? And why is it such a powerful tool for healing? Forgiveness is not about condoning or excusing the actions of others. It is not about forgetting the past or pretending that hurtful events did not occur. Forgiveness is about releasing the hold that the past has on us, about letting go of our attachment to anger and resentment. When we forgive, we are not saying that what the other person did was okay. We are simply choosing to release ourselves from the negative emotions that are holding us back. We are choosing to free ourselves from the burden of carrying those emotions with us. Forgiveness is also not about reconciliation. While forgiveness can lead to reconciliation, in some cases it is not a requirement. Forgiveness is a personal choice, a decision that we make for ourselves, regardless of whether the other person apologizes or changes their behavior. So why is forgiveness so important? Why should we bother to forgive others, especially when they have hurt us deeply? The answer lies in the power of forgiveness to heal and transform our lives. When we hold on to anger and resentment, we are essentially holding on to the past. We are allowing past hurts to define our present experience, to color our perception of the world around us. But when we forgive, we are choosing to let go of the past and embrace the present moment. Forgiveness is a gift that we give to ourselves. When we forgive, we are not only freeing the other person from guilt or blame, but we are also freeing ourselves from the burden of carrying those negative emotions. We are choosing to release ourselves from the cycle of suffering and to open ourselves up to a future filled with possibility. But how do we cultivate forgiveness in our lives? How do we let go of our attachment to anger and resentment? One way is through the practice of empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. When we practice empathy, we are able to see the humanity in others, to recognize that they too are fallible beings, capable of making mistakes. Another way to cultivate forgiveness is through the practice of self-compassion. Self-compassion is the ability to treat ourselves with kindness and understanding, especially when we are suffering. When we practice self-compassion, we are able to forgive ourselves for our own shortcomings and mistakes, and to recognize that we are worthy of love and forgiveness. The profound role that compassion plays in the process of forgiveness. Compassion, at its core, is the ability to empathize with others, to see their suffering, and to wish them well. When we approach forgiveness with compassion, we are able to transcend our own pain and anger, and to see the humanity in those who have hurt us. One of the key aspects of compassion is the recognition that all beings are interconnected. We are all part of the same web of life, and what affects one of us affects all of us. When we cultivate compassion, we are able to see beyond our own individual experience and to recognize the common humanity that binds us together. Compassion also allows us to let go of our attachment to anger and resentment. When we approach forgiveness with compassion, we are able to see the humanity in those who have hurt us, to recognize that they too are fallible beings, capable of making mistakes. We are able to empathize with their suffering and to understand the motivations behind their actions. But perhaps most importantly, compassion allows us to extend that same kindness and understanding to ourselves. We are often our own harshest critics, holding ourselves to impossible standards. But through compassion, we can learn to forgive ourselves for our own shortcomings and mistakes, and to recognize that we are worthy of love and forgiveness. Forgiveness, then, is not just an act of kindness towards others, but also towards ourselves. When we forgive, we are not only freeing the other person from guilt or blame, but we are also freeing ourselves from the burden of carrying those negative emotions. We are choosing to release ourselves from the cycle of suffering and to open ourselves up to a future filled with possibility. But how do we cultivate compassion in our lives? How do we learn to forgive others and ourselves? One way is through the practice of loving kindness meditation. Loving kindness meditation is a practice that involves cultivating feelings of love, compassion, and goodwill towards ourselves and others. In loving kindness meditation, we begin by directing these feelings towards ourselves, wishing ourselves well and acknowledging our own humanity. We then extend these feelings towards others, starting with loved ones, and then gradually expanding to include all beings. Another way to cultivate compassion is through the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, of observing our thoughts and emotions without judgment. When we practice mindfulness, we are able to see the interconnectedness of all beings and to recognize that we are all part of the same web of life. The profound freedom that forgiveness offers us. Forgiveness is not just about letting go of anger and resentment. It is about freeing ourselves from the chains of the past and embracing a future filled with possibility. When we forgive, we are choosing to release ourselves from the burden of carrying those negative emotions and to open ourselves up to a world of love, compassion, and healing. One of the key aspects of forgiveness is the recognition that holding on to anger and resentment only serves to harm ourselves. When we hold on to these negative emotions, we are essentially holding ourselves captive to the past. We are allowing past hurts to define our present experience and to dictate our future. But when we forgive, we are choosing to break free from this cycle of suffering. We are choosing to let go of our attachment to anger and resentment and to embrace the present moment. We are choosing to open ourselves up to a future filled with love, compassion, and healing. The transformative nature of forgiveness. In our quest for understanding, we turn to the wisdom of the ages, to the teachings that remind us of our interconnectedness and the healing power that forgiveness holds. Forgiveness is not just an act, it is a state of being. It is the recognition that we are all interconnected, that our actions ripple through the fabric of existence, touching everything and everyone around us. When we forgive, we release the chains of resentment and anger that bind us, freeing ourselves and others from the burden of the past. But forgiveness is not always easy. It requires us to let go of our ego, to transcend our sense of separateness, and to embrace the interconnected nature of reality. It requires us to see beyond the surface level of our grievances and to recognize the deeper truth that lies beneath. In many ways, forgiveness is an act of humility. It requires us to acknowledge our own imperfections and to recognize that we are all capable of both great kindness and great harm. It requires us to see the humanity in others, even those who have wronged us, and to recognize that they too are on their own journey of growth and self-discovery. One of the key teachings of forgiveness is the recognition that holding on to anger and resentment only harms ourselves. When we hold on to negative emotions, we create a barrier between ourselves and the world around us. We become trapped in a cycle of suffering, unable to fully experience the beauty and wonder of life. But when we forgive, we break free from this cycle. We open ourselves up to the possibility of healing and transformation. We allow ourselves to move forward with grace and humility, unburdened by the weight of the past. In the words of the great spiritual teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, to forgive is to be free from the burden of anger, hatred, and revenge. It is to offer peace to oneself and others when we forgive. We not only free ourselves from the burden of anger, but we also offer peace to those around us. We create a ripple effect of healing and transformation that can touch the lives of countless others. Forgiveness is a profound act of compassion. It is an expression of our interconnectedness and our shared humanity. It is a recognition that we are all in this together, navigating the complexities of life as best we can. So let us embrace the power of forgiveness. Let us let go of our grievances and open ourselves up to the possibility of healing and transformation. Let us recognize that forgiveness is not just for others, but for ourselves as well. And let us remember that in forgiveness we find healing, peace, and the true essence of our being. In our journey through life, we often perceive ourselves as separate from the world around us. We see ourselves as isolated individuals, disconnected from the web of existence. But this perception is an illusion. In reality, we are like waves in the ocean, arising from the same primordial source. The concept of separation is deeply ingrained in our culture and society. We are taught from a young age to see ourselves as individuals distinct and separate from others. We are encouraged to compete and strive for success, often at the expense of our connection to the world around us. But this perception of separation is a source of much suffering. It leads us to see others as different or other, to judge and criticize, and to create barriers between ourselves and the world around us. It is a source of conflict and division, both within ourselves and in our relationships with others. The truth, however, is that we are not separate at all. We are all interconnected, part of the same vast web of existence. Just as the waves are not separate from the ocean, so too are we not separate from the universe. We are all expressions of the same underlying reality, manifestations of the same cosmic energy. This recognition of our interconnectedness is at the heart of forgiveness. When we forgive, we acknowledge that we are all in this together, that our actions and choices have an impact on the world around us. We let go of our sense of separateness and embrace the truth that we are all part of the same cosmic dance. In the words of the great spiritual teacher, Ram Dass, we are all just walking each other home. When we see ourselves as part of a larger whole, we are able to let go of our grievances and open ourselves up to the possibility of healing and transformation. Forgiveness is not about condoning the actions of others. It is about recognizing our shared humanity. It is about seeing beyond the surface level of our grievances and recognizing the deeper truth that lies beneath. It is about letting go of our attachment to anger and resentment and opening ourselves up to the possibility of healing and transformation. In the words of the great spiritual teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, in a deep relationship, there is no longer a boundary between you and the other person. You are her and she is you. Your suffering is her suffering. Your understanding of your own suffering helps your loved one to suffer less. Suffering and happiness are no longer individual matters. What happens to your loved one happens to you. What happens to you happens to your loved one. This is the true nature of forgiveness. It is a recognition of our interconnectedness, a letting go of our sense of separateness, and a opening ourselves up to the possibility of healing and transformation. It is a profound act of compassion and a recognition of our shared humanity. And it is in forgiveness that we find healing, peace, and the true essence of our being. Life is a dance, a cosmic symphony in which we all play our part. Just as dancers move in harmony with each other, so too are we called to move in harmony with the world around us. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks this harmony, allowing us to join the dance of life with grace and humility. But what does it mean to dance with life? It means to embrace the flow of existence, to move with the rhythm of the universe. It means to let go of our attachments and expectations and to surrender to the beauty and wonder of the present moment. In the words of the great spiritual teacher, Lao Tzu, life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them, that only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. When we dance with life, we let go of our need to control and manipulate. We allow ourselves to be carried along by the currents of existence, trusting that wherever they may take us, it is where we are meant to be. We embrace the uncertainty and unpredictability of life, knowing that it is through these challenges that we grow and evolve. But dancing with life also means embracing the interconnectedness of all things. It means recognizing that we are not separate from the world around us, but rather an integral part of it. Just as each dancer contributes to the beauty of the dance, so too do we contribute to the beauty of the universe. Forgiveness is the key that allows us to dance with life in this way. When we forgive, we let go of our grievances and open ourselves up to the possibility of healing and transformation. We release the barriers that separate us from others and from the world around us, allowing us to join the cosmic dance with grace and humility. In the words of the great poet, Rumi, dance when you're broken open. Dance if you've torn the bandage off. Dance in the middle of a fighting. Dance in your blood. Dance in your blood. Dance when you're perfectly free. So let us embrace the dance of life. Let us forgive and be forgiven. Let us open ourselves up to the beauty and wonder of the present moment. And let us remember that in forgiveness, we find healing, peace, and the true essence of our being. Forgiveness is not about condoning the actions of others. It is about letting go of our attachment to pain and suffering. When we hold on to anger and resentment, we create a barrier between ourselves and the world around us. We become trapped in the cycle of suffering, unable to fully experience the beauty and wonder of life. But when we forgive, we break free from this cycle. We open ourselves up to the possibility of healing and transformation. We allow ourselves to move forward with grace and humility, unburdened by the weight of the past. Letting go is a powerful act of liberation. It is the recognition that holding on to the past only serves to imprison us. When we let go, we free ourselves from the chains of resentment and anger that bind us, allowing us to experience life with greater clarity and joy. In the words of the great spiritual teacher, Eckhart Tolle, some changes look negative on the surface, but you will soon realize that space is being created in your life for something new to emerge. When we let go of our attachments to the past, we create space for new possibilities to enter our lives. We open ourselves up to the beauty and wonder of the present moment, allowing life to unfold in its natural and spontaneous way. But letting go is not always easy. It requires courage and humility. It requires us to confront our own ego and to recognize the ways in which it holds us back. It requires us to let go of our need for control and certainty and to embrace the uncertainty and unpredictability of life. The illusion of separation, a fundamental misunderstanding of our place in the universe. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to see ourselves as separate individuals, distinct from the world around us. This illusion is perpetuated by our egos, which create a false sense of self that is isolated from others. This sense of separation is an illusion, a trick of the mind that blinds us to the deeper truths of existence. In reality, we are not separate individuals, but interconnected manifestations of the same underlying reality. Just as waves are expressions of the ocean, we are expressions of the universe. This illusion of separation leads to many of the conflicts and problems we face in life. When we see ourselves as separate from others, we are more likely to feel threatened by them, to see them as competitors or enemies. This sense of separation also leads to feelings of loneliness and isolation, as we struggle to connect with others who we perceive as different from ourselves. Forgiveness plays a crucial role in overcoming this illusion of separation. When we forgive others, we acknowledge our shared humanity and recognize that their actions, however hurtful, are ultimately expressions of the same universal consciousness that animates us all. Forgiveness breaks down the barriers we have erected between ourselves and others, allowing us to see the interconnectedness of all beings. With the metaphor of the net to describe this interconnectedness, the universe is a vast net, with each individual being a knot in the net. When we pull on one knot, the whole net is affected. In the same way, our actions and thoughts have ripple effects that extend far beyond ourselves, affecting the entire universe. When we forgive others, we untangle the knots of resentment and anger that bind us to the illusion of separation. We see that holding on to these negative emotions only perpetuates the cycle of suffering and separation. By letting go of these emotions, we free ourselves from the chains of the past and open ourselves to the possibility of true connection and understanding. Forgiveness is not always easy. It requires us to let go of our ego's need to be right, to let go of our desire for revenge or retribution. It requires us to see beyond the surface level of our differences and recognize the deeper truth of our interconnectedness. But in doing so, we open ourselves to a world of possibilities, where forgiveness is not just an act of kindness, but a profound realization of our fundamental unity with all of existence. Forgiveness is a powerful tool for transcending the illusion of separation and embracing the unity of all things. When we forgive, we acknowledge that the actions of others are not separate from us, but are part of the same interconnected web of existence. This recognition of unity is at the heart of true forgiveness. The interconnectedness of all beings, the analogy of Indra's net to illustrate this concept. According to this metaphor, the universe is like a vast net with a jewel at each intersection of the net. Each jewel reflects all the other jewels, creating an infinite reflection of interconnectedness. In this way, every action we take, every thought we think, has an impact on the entire universe. When we hold on to anger, resentment, or bitterness towards others, we reinforce the illusion of separation. We see ourselves as victims, separate from those who have wronged us. However, forgiveness breaks down these barriers, allowing us to see the interconnectedness of all beings. You are something the whole universe is doing, in the same way that a wave is something that the whole ocean is doing. Forgiveness is not just about letting go of past hurts. It's about recognizing our shared humanity and the fundamental unity of all beings. When we forgive, we acknowledge that we are all part of the same cosmic dance, that our individual identities are just temporary manifestations of the same underlying reality. In this way, forgiveness is an act of profound compassion and understanding, a recognition of our essential oneness with all of existence. The human body is made up of billions of cells, each with its own individual life. Yet all these cells work together in harmony to form the whole body. In the same way, we are all individual expressions of the same universal consciousness, working together in harmony to create the tapestry of life. When we forgive, we align ourselves with this universal harmony. We let go of our ego's need to be right, to hold on to grievances, and we embrace the deeper truth of our interconnectedness. In forgiving others, we also forgive ourselves, recognizing that our own actions are not separate from the actions of others. Forgiveness is not always easy. It requires us to let go of our ego's need for control and certainty. It requires us to embrace the uncertainty of life and to trust in the underlying unity of all things. But in doing so, we open ourselves to a deeper level of healing and transformation, both for ourselves and for the world around us. Forgiveness is a profound act of letting go, a releasing of the emotional burdens that weigh us down. The power of letting go, the act of dropping a heavy weight that we have been carrying for too long. When we forgive, we free ourselves from the chains of the past and open ourselves to new possibilities. The concept of holding on too tightly. In some cultures, hunters use a simple trap to catch monkeys. They place a piece of fruit inside a narrow neck jar and anchor the jar to the ground. The monkey reaches into the jar to grab the fruit, but finds that its fist is too big to fit back through the narrow neck. The monkey is trapped, not by the jar, but by its own unwillingness to let go of the fruit. In the same way, we often trap ourselves by holding on to past hurts and grievances. We become so attached to our pain that we cannot see the possibility of letting it go. But forgiveness is the key to unlocking the trap. When we forgive, we release ourselves from the grip of the past and open ourselves to new opportunities for growth and healing. Holding on to anger, to grasping a hot coal, with the intent of throwing it at someone else, we are the ones who get burned. When we hold on to anger, we only perpetuate our own suffering. Forgiveness is not about denying our feelings or pretending that the past did not happen. It is about acknowledging our pain and choosing to let it go. Forgiveness also involves accepting that what has happened cannot be changed. The importance of living in the present moment, letting go of the past and the future. When we forgive, we accept the reality of the present moment and let go of our attachment to how things should have been. This acceptance allows us to move forward with greater clarity and purpose. Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. It takes courage to let go of past hurts and embrace forgiveness. In forgiving others, we also forgive ourselves, recognizing that we are all imperfect beings doing the best we can in a complex and ever-changing world. Forgiveness is a process, not a one-time event. It requires patience, compassion, and self-reflection. It may take time to fully forgive someone, especially if the hurt is deep. But with practice and perseverance, we can cultivate a mindset of forgiveness that allows us to move forward with greater peace and clarity. Forgiveness is closely tied to the wisdom of acceptance, the ability to accept things as they are without judgment or resistance. The importance of acceptance in the process of forgiveness, emphasizing that acceptance is not resignation, but a recognition of the reality of the present moment. With the analogy of the river to illustrate the concept of acceptance. The river does not resist the rocks in its path, it simply flows around them. In the same way, we can learn to accept the obstacles and challenges in our lives without resisting them. When we accept things as they are, we free ourselves from the struggle and resistance that only serve to prolong our suffering. Acceptance also involves letting go of our attachment to how things should be, the folly of trying to control the outcome of a situation, pointing out that life is constantly changing and evolving. When we let go of our need for control, we open ourselves to new possibilities and opportunities for growth. Forgiveness is a natural outgrowth of acceptance. When we accept things as they are, including the actions of others, we are more able to forgive. Acceptance allows us to see beyond the surface level of our differences and recognize the deeper truth of our interconnectedness. In accepting others, we also accept ourselves, recognizing that we are all imperfect beings doing the best we can in a complex and ever-changing world. The importance of living in the present moment, letting go of the past and the future. When we forgive, we are able to fully embrace the present moment, free from the burdens of the past. Forgiveness allows us to be fully present, to experience life as it is, without judgment or resistance. By considering the illusion of separation, from the moment we are born, we are conditioned to see ourselves as separate individuals, distinct from others and the world around us. This sense of separateness is reinforced by our education, our culture, and our daily experiences. We see ourselves as individuals with our own thoughts, feelings, and desires, distinct from those of others. Yet when we look closely, we see that this sense of separateness is just that, a sense, an illusion. In reality, we are deeply interconnected with all of life. Our bodies are made up of the same elements as the stars, the trees, and the oceans. Our breath is the same air that has been breathed by countless generations before us. We are not separate from nature, we are a part of it. This illusion of separateness extends beyond our relationship with the natural world. It also shapes how we relate to other people. We see others as separate individuals with their own lives and experiences, separate from ours. This perception of separateness gives rise to feelings of isolation, loneliness, and alienation. The duality of forgiveness. Forgiveness is often seen as a one-sided act, where one person forgives another for a perceived wrong. However, forgiveness is much more than that. It is a process that involves both the forgiver and the forgiven. When we hold on to grudges and resentments, we create a barrier that separates us from others. This barrier not only affects our relationships, but also harms our own mental and physical well-being. We become trapped in the cycle of anger and hurt, unable to move forward. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is an act of unity. It bridges the gap between the forgiver and the forgiven, allowing for healing and reconciliation to take place. When we forgive, we acknowledge our shared humanity and recognize that we are all interconnected. We let go of the illusion of separateness and embrace the unity that underlies all of life. the unity that forgiveness brings. When we forgive, we not only heal the relationship with the other person, but we also heal ourselves. We let go of the negative emotions that have been weighing us down and open ourselves up to new possibilities. Forgiveness is a deeply spiritual act. It is a recognition of our interconnectedness with all of life. When we forgive, we acknowledge that we are all part of the same cosmic dance, each playing our part in the unfolding of the universe. In this sense, forgiveness is not just about letting go of past hurts. It is about embracing the present moment with openness and compassion. It is about recognizing that we are all in this together, and that by forgiving others, we also forgive ourselves. The freedom that forgiveness brings. When we hold on to grudges and resentments, we imprison ourselves in the past. We are unable to fully embrace the present moment, as our minds are clouded by past hurts and grievances. Forgiveness offers us a way out of this prison. When we forgive, we release ourselves from the burden of resentment and anger. We free ourselves from the past and open ourselves up to new possibilities. We are no longer bound by the chains of the past, but are free to live fully in the present moment. Forgiveness also brings a sense of liberation. When we forgive, we let go of the need to seek revenge or to hold on to negative emotions. We are no longer at the mercy of our past hurts, but are able to move forward with grace and compassion. The wisdom that forgiveness brings. Forgiveness is a profound act of wisdom, as it requires us to transcend our ego and our need to be right. It requires us to see beyond our own pain and suffering and to recognize the humanity in others. When we forgive, we cultivate empathy and compassion. We see the world through the eyes of others and understand that everyone is fighting their own battles. We realize that holding on to grudges and resentments only harms ourselves, and that true wisdom lies in letting go. Forgiveness also teaches us the impermanence of life. When we forgive, we acknowledge that life is constantly changing and evolving. We let go of the need to hold on to past hurts and grievances and embrace the ever-changing nature of existence. In this sense, forgiveness is not just an act of kindness, it is also an act of wisdom. It teaches us to let go of the past and to embrace the present moment with openness and compassion. The practice of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not always easy. It requires courage, humility, and a willingness to let go of our ego. Yet, the rewards of forgiveness are immeasurable. One way to cultivate forgiveness in our daily lives is through the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to be present and aware of our thoughts and emotions, and to respond with compassion and forgiveness instead of reacting out of anger or resentment. Another way to cultivate forgiveness is through self-reflection. By examining our own actions and motivations, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and others, and learn to forgive ourselves and others for past mistakes. Ultimately, forgiveness is a practice that requires patience and perseverance. It is a journey of self-discovery and self-healing, and one that can lead to profound transformation and growth. The transformative power of forgiveness. Forgiveness has the power to transform our relationships, our communities, and the world at large. When we forgive, we not only heal the relationship with the other person, but we also heal ourselves. Forgiveness is a deeply spiritual act. It is a recognition of our interconnectedness with all of life. When we forgive, we acknowledge that we are all part of the same cosmic dance, each playing our part in the unfolding of the universe. In this sense, forgiveness is not just about letting go of past hurts. It is about embracing the present moment with openness and compassion. It is about recognizing that we are all in this together, and that by forgiving others, we also forgive ourselves. When we forgive, we create space for understanding and empathy to grow. This, in turn, can lead to deeper and more meaningful connections with others. Forgiveness allows us to see beyond our differences and to recognize the humanity in others. It teaches us to let go of judgment and to embrace compassion and empathy. Forgiveness also has the power to transform our communities and the world at large. When we forgive, we break the cycle of violence and revenge that can perpetuate conflict and suffering. We create a ripple effect of healing and reconciliation that can spread far beyond our immediate circle. In this way, forgiveness is not just a personal act, it is a political and social act as well. It has the power to heal divisions and to bring people together in a spirit of unity and compassion. It is a force for positive change in the world. The ripple effect of forgiveness. When we forgive others, we inspire them to forgive others as well. This creates a chain reaction of healing and reconciliation that can spread far beyond our immediate circle. The ripple effect of forgiveness can be seen in many areas of life. In families, forgiveness can heal old wounds and strengthen bonds. In communities, forgiveness can break down barriers and build bridges between people. In societies, forgiveness can promote peace and understanding among different groups. One powerful example of the ripple effect of forgiveness is the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa. After the end of apartheid, South Africa faced the monumental task of healing the wounds of the past and building a new future based on reconciliation and forgiveness. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission provided a forum for victims and perpetrators of human rights abuses to tell their stories and seek forgiveness. Through this process, many people were able to find healing and closure, and South Africa was able to begin the process of healing and reconciliation. The ripple effect of forgiveness is not limited to large-scale events like the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It can also be seen in our daily lives in the way that forgiveness can heal old wounds and strengthen relationships. Forgiveness is a transformative act that goes beyond the individual level, creating a ripple effect that can spread through families, communities, and even nations. When we forgive, we not only heal ourselves, but also contribute to a cycle of healing and reconciliation that can have far-reaching effects. In families, forgiveness can break generations of pain and resentment. Often, family conflicts are passed down from one generation to the next, creating cycles of hurt and misunderstanding. When one member of a family chooses to forgive, it can have a profound impact on the entire family system. Forgiveness can lead to open and honest communication, increased empathy, and a deeper sense of connection among family members. In communities, forgiveness can bridge divides and build understanding. Many communities around the world are torn apart by conflict, whether it be political, religious, or cultural. Forgiveness has the power to transcend these divides, bringing people together in a spirit of reconciliation. When communities choose to forgive, they can begin the process of healing and rebuilding trust.